Okay, I want to begin thanking my friends and family for coming to support me. They're always here for any event I ever do, so it means a lot. I'm only 18 years old, and I find it sometimes hard to talk to my friends and peers about God. Some feel uncomfortable when you talk about your faith. Often it's considered cool to mock religious people in our society. You know, a lot of people think that they can find the answers to God by searching it on Google or, reading a book, but I feel like being a part of the church helps me to answer those questions. A few weeks ago, my mom asked me a very important question. She asked me, why do you believe in God? She wasn't asking me this question because she was questioning my faith. No, she wanted to hear my answer. So I replied, I believe in God because I believe in love. If you can love your family, your friends, people you don't understand, and even people you don't agree with, all equally, then I think that God is with you at those times. And I believe in caring and being generous to people. You know, when you give someone $1 for a sandwich to feed them, or when you help someone who's lonely and looks lost, it's those simple acts of kindness that I try to teach my students all about. I'm currently a senior at Maine South High School. I began teaching catechesis my freshman year, so this is my 4th year. I started off teaching 4th grade, moved to 5th grade, to now currently teaching 8th grade. I'm a little crazy, so I actually taught more than one class a year, so this is my total of 8 classes I've been teaching. I absolutely love what I do. I wouldn't be doing it if it weren't for my mom. She really inspired me to get involved in the church and to really, teach my students all about the Catholic faith. I've always loved kids and teaching. It was always an inspiration to me. So I remember when I first started, I was so excited. I'm like, oh, I can do this. It's going to be easy. It's just 4th grade. When they first walked in, and I just remember seeing them all staring at me and thinking I had to be responsible for all of them. I was like, there is no way I can do this. There is no way. And I remember it was like my 2nd class. A student of mine asked me a question. I can't remember exactly what the question was, but I remember I was just like, I don't even know that answer. Like, who am I to be teaching these students if I don't even know the Catholic Church myself? So I really spent my first year getting to know the church and getting to know, more connection with God. And I felt that first year really brought me closer to God because I was learning through my kids, that relationship that God is the person we turn to when we need Him most. And then my 2nd year is a year that I'll never forget. I had a student named Nick. It was 5th grade. And I remember that year, it was a Tuesday night. Tuesday nights are the craziest nights to teach because the students have school during the day and then they have free time and then they have to go to CCD. So they're always crazy. And I remember I was like, okay, I had 1 year, I'm good now. I know everything that the kids ask me. I should be fine. And then I just hear boom, 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 boom going on in the hallway. I was like, please let them not be my class. And then sure enough, they open the door. They're running around in the room, throwing chairs and desks and screaming. I was like, this is 5th grade. 4th grade was so much better than that. I was like, wow. And then I just remember, after hours, it felt like hours of screaming, I finally got them to settle down. And as I began to speak, the door banged open again. And I look and I saw a little boy named Nick. He was standing there with a red crutch, braces on his legs, and he was just standing there. And everyone was making this expression on their face, they didn't know how to deal with a kid who, had a hard time walking. So I went over to the door and I helped him to his seat, and I began trying to teach, trying to keep the class involved. And then I saw that Nick was raising his hand, so I called on him. And the words he spoke to me, I'll never forget. He said, I don't believe in God. I don't want to be here. This is pointless. The book doesn't make any sense. I want to leave. And all the kids started laughing, and I just remember tears were filling in my eyes. I'm like, no one prepared me for this. No one told me, there might be kids that actually don't believe in God. So I was just standing there, and I didn't know what to do. I literally at that moment I wanted to give up, but if there's anything I love more, it's a challenge. So I spent that year really doing things to get the kids involved. And this is what I do a lot during my, hours of teaching CCD. I let the kids talk a lot, having them feel comfortable with themselves and with the classmates helps them learn more. I let them talk about their family and their friends, school life. Just getting them to feel comfortable is the main thing I want to do. And then I try to change it up. I read from the book, and then I have them do projects and get them up and moving, getting them involved. That's a good way to get them kind of their minds going, so they're not always, wanting to leave and looking at the clock every time. Another thing I like to do is I do a song of a week, where I play like a song like by Rihanna or someone who they don't expect, but I kind of show them that artists can connect with God in a different way that you don't even realize. A pop song can actually be related to God if you really think about the words. And kids love music. I mean, tons of times I see them going like this, and you see that little earphone going in their ears all the time. So I try to get them to show them, there's different ways that God is present in your life, through music, through, sports, your friends. He's always there. So I try to teach them about that. Another thing I like to do is I ask the kids questions. Questions that sometimes you're afraid to ask a kid. I'm like, if someone came up and sat next to you and they look different, they talk different, would you laugh at them or would you actually be friends with them? And they're always like, oh, I'd be friends with them. And I'm like, don't just say that to say it to me. Mean it. Would you actually be friends with that person? And I try to get them to really think about who they are as people and what they want to do for, the rest of their lives, who they want to actually be. So that's one thing I like to really focus on. And at the end of that year, I remember all the kids are leaving, saying their goodbyes, and I remember seeing Nick in the back. He was sitting there, and he just looked quiet. Nick was the kind of student that was never quiet. So I went up to him, I said, Nick, is everything okay? He just looked at me with his big blue eyes and said, thank you. You helped me believe in God. He's like, you are the reason why I feel like I have faith now. I have a lot more questions, and I want the answers, but I do believe. And I remember watching him make his way to the door. At that moment, I could not believe what I heard. The fact that I helped a boy find faith with God. I know it wasn't me. I know that God was working through me to help him feel that faith. But the fact that I was able to experience it was the most life-changing thing I've ever was able to have. Seeing a boy go from not wanting to be there to actually wanting to learn more about God. That's why I think being a catechist and teaching these kids, it's life-changing. You never know who you can get across to or who you can, change. That's why I absolutely love what I'm doing. Being 18, it is hard to talk to your friends about God. And, I still try. I try to talk to my friends. I never try to pressure them or anything, but I love learning more about God. I love feeling that connection with God. I will continue to do this the rest of my life because I absolutely love it. And I always tell my kids, it's one thing to say something, it's a whole nother to mean it. And I mean it. I love teaching. Does anyone?
Thank you so much.
Does anyone have any questions?
What's your biggest challenge with 8th grade?
Oh, I think getting that respect. It's, when they, I always find it funny because on that first ACC, they always ask, how old are you? How old are you? Tell me. They ask me, you can't lie. That's just bad. You're teaching them to be good people, so you can't lie. And I'm always like, how old do you think I am? And they're always like, 23, 30. And they always say crazy numbers then. And I'm like, okay, I'll tell you. And this year I started off 17, and their mouths just drop. They just look at you and they're like, you're lying. And I'm like, no, I swear, I'm 17. And then they start going crazy and, trying to push your limits because they're like, oh, she's young. My sister's her age. But then I try to develop that respect, by really trying to be that teacher figure. And it works. It really does, so. Any other questions? Yeah.
So what's up for you next year?
Next year, I want to continue with 8th grade. Like I said, I love doing this. I really do. And my mom really helps me every year, and I just love it. I really want to continue on teaching.
I mean, when you get out of high school.
Oh, when I want to go to DePaul. I want to be a therapist, and I also want to go into teaching also. But I think for me, not just teaching, it's connecting with the kids in a level where I feel like they can talk to me. I feel like talking is the biggest thing. It's not so much me talking, it's letting them talk to me. That's why I really want to go into, helping kids with therapy and stuff. So, yes.
How many nights a week do you meet?
I used to do 3 nights a week. Now I'm down to 2. I needed a little time. It was a lot to do. But yeah, I teach on Sunday mornings and Tuesday nights. Any other questions?
I
yeah.
I just want to comment because I taught CCD, the 8th grade, for like 5 years. And God bless you.
Thank you so much. That's so sweet, thank you. Any other questions? Yeah.
That's kind of what I want to say. Just good for you, and keep shining your light, because I think, people your age seeing that, if you don't feel it now, there's going to be a ripple effect. You know what I mean? There probably already has been, whether you know it or not, but really, keep shining that light, because it's really evident. Really
Thank you
nice.
so much. Thank you. Thank you.